Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. If it sounds a little bit different today, it is because it is. Because today I have made a decision, or actually I made a decision last week, that I was going to actually take this podcast really seriously and really trying to grow it this year. So I wanted to commit to a podcast studio and actually coming into a studio, we know where there's good sound, it's actually quiet outside, there's a good microphone, there's a camera. So I wanted to really commit to that because the podcast is something that I absolutely love doing and something that I really want to grow this year. So, everyone who has shared it, who's followed it, who has given me a rating, I fucking love you so much. You have no idea how much that actually means to me. Like every time when I go in and I see that maybe a few more of you have subscribed and that that it is growing, it just makes me so happy. So please do that, and also please share on your stories too and tag me because I really want to see who's listening to these, and it just makes me so incredibly happy when I see what you get out of it and that you enjoy it. And I mean, even more happy when you say that you have listened to the podcast and then you want to work with me. Like that is, honestly, that is the best compliment you could ever give me. Like, it just makes me so, so happy. So today I have planned an episode. See, this girl is getting serious. To plan an episode to talk about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is something that I specialize in. It is something that most people, or I'm going to say everyone, will encounter at some time of their life. And we all have some form of self-sabotaging behaviors. And, that's okay. It's a part of being human. But I also want to be able to give you some tools so that you can stop your self-sabotage and that you can actually step into that empowered life. And I understand that not everyone wants to sign up to coaching and you might not have time for coaching, and especially something as in-depth as my program. It is quite intense and it does require you to show up to calls. It does require you to post in a group, to watch the educational videos. And if you don't want to commit to that, like that's probably going to be like an hour or so of your week spread out over the 7 days. If you can't commit to that, then you absolutely should not work with me because I'm committing to this and I want you to commit as well. So this podcast is kind of like a small snippet of what I do and what I help my clients with, and I wanted to give you some tools as well for how to stop self-sabotaging on your own. So that's why this podcast is called Getting Unstuck. How to break self-sabotage for good. So this, self-sabotage, it doesn't have to be something like huge that we see that, okay, I know that I'm self-sabotaging because I'm in a relationship but I'm sleeping with other guys, for example, or that you are binge eating every weekend even though you want to lose weight. Like it doesn't have to be as obvious as that. Self-sabotage can also be things like overthinking and talking ourselves out of doing things. For example, signing up to a program, signing up to a coach. For me, for example, I was self-sabotaging because I was like, no, I can't afford to commit to a studio. The podcast isn't that important. That was just me being scared. It was just me being afraid of what if I give it my all and it still doesn't work. That's a form of self-sabotage, holding yourself back because you're scared. So it doesn't have to be these huge things, but it, like I said, it can be small things like you always being late because then you know that you haven't given the workout or your job that day the best possible try. So then if you don't succeed, then you can blame, it's because I was late. So, I didn't give it 100% because I couldn't because I was late. Or I always used to say in CrossFit, I'm just feeling a little bit like under the weather today, so I don't know if I can go that hard, because I was scared that if I went 100% and then still didn't win, people would think that I was a failure, or I would think that I was a failure. So self-sabotage is also not committing 100% to things because we're so afraid of what could happen for us when we do commit and the changes that we can actually make in our lives. So today I want to give you a specific exercise, and if you're listening to this and you're driving, then obviously don't do this because I don't want to be responsible for any car accidents. But if you are at home, please get out a piece of paper and a pen. And if you are driving or you are doing something that requires your full attention, just listen. And you can imagine it, or you can just go back and listen to the episode again and do it. I mean, that is probably the best way to do it anyway, because it will give you more. I mean, sometimes it's good to just listen through things and then do the exercise. So get your piece of paper out, pause this, and get a pen. I know this is like, what the hell, old school? A piece of paper and a pen? What are you talking about? Not an iPad? I love doing things the old school way, so get it out. So, like I said, I have prepared some notes. So if I'm looking down, I mean, that's a bit silly for me to say that because I just realized that no one can see this. But I will be looking at my computer because I have, like I said, been very serious and prepared an episode with notes for once. So I want you to, on your piece of paper with your pen, what's it called? Oh my God. This worked out really well, guys. I want you to draw a line that goes from the top of the page to the bottom of the page and then a line straight across it. So it's like a cross on the page. And at the top of the line, I want you to write outside. And then just do a little arrow that goes up. And on the right side, I want you to write towards. And then you do an arrow that goes that way. And on the bottom, I want you to write inside and do an arrow that goes below. And then on the left-hand side, I want you to write away and put an arrow that goes left, of course. This is what self-sabotage looks like. And the reason I want you to draw this is because it's going to give you a much better understanding of what is actually going on in your mind when you are self-sabotaging. So, in the top left corner, I want you to write down all the things that you can see that are happening in the outside world when you are self-sabotaging. So this could, for example, be binge eating. This could be that you're spending hours on dating apps. This could be Netflix. This could be social media, scrolling hours on TikTok. This could be drinking alcohol. This could be eating loads of chocolate every night, even though you're lactose intolerant. This could be triple texting people that you're dating because you're so anxious. I want you to write down all of the things that you are doing that are self-sabotage for you in that corner. And if you can't keep up, just pause it and then just come back to this after. Then on the top right corner, I want you to write down all the things that you want to be doing. I want you to write down all the things that you wish that you were doing to move you closer to your goal. So what are the things that are going to make you closer to that goal, that are going to enhance your life? So this could, for example, be spend time with friends, check in with your coach, sign up to a coach, read books, do journal. It could be a meditation. It could be going to the gym. It could be hugging a friend. It could be walking your dog. What are the things that you can do in your life that will move you towards your goal? These are the things. So these are the two things that I've said to you. They are what's on the outside, not what's going on the inside, but what you can physically see. And then in the bottom right corner, I want you to write down who and what is important to me. So who is important to you? This could, for example, be your parents, your friends, your partner, your pet, your coach, your clients, your mentor, your teacher, whatever, who is important in your life. And then I want you to write down what is important in your life. Is it important for you to feel loved? Is it important to you to feel appreciated? Is it important to you to feel good enough? Is it important to you to feel like you are working really hard? What are the things on the inside that are important to you? So notice that I didn't say anything about it's important to me to have a nice to have blonde hair or to have loads of money. That has nothing to do with what's going on the inside. So I want you to write down the things that are important to you, the people, the things in your life. And I also want you to write down the things that matters to you. So the things that make you feel good, the things that you want in your life. What are your actual values? And then on the left-hand side, on the bottom, we're then going to write down all of the beliefs that we have about ourselves that are moving us further away from our goal. So this could, for example, be, I'm not good enough. No one's ever going to love me. I'm ugly. I'm never going to get anything right. I'm always a failure. I can't do hard things. I can't afford it. All of the beliefs that are repeatedly going in your mind telling you that you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that, or those people are never going to like you. All of that negative self-talk, all of those intrusive thoughts that we've spoken about before on the podcast, I want you to write them all down. And then I want you to take a moment and have a look at what you've just written. And if you didn't write, freaking do it now. Because this isn't just for you to do an exercise. This is for you to get clarity on what is it that you're doing, how does it look like, what could you do to move you towards this goal, what is important to you on the inside, and what are you actually saying to yourself on the inside. So you can see how these things are not matching each other. And this is why we self-sabotage. This is why we get anxiety. This is why we feel like something is wrong, that we just feel like, ugh. Because what's going on in our mind is not matching what we actually want. So you might want love, connection, peace, but you might act as someone who doesn't want that, because in your mind, the thinking mind is telling you that, no, you're not good enough, so you don't deserve love, you don't deserve peace. But even though it is a core value of yours. So I hope that makes sense. So, like I said, how does this then apply to self-sabotage? Well, the first thing that we need to do when we want to break self-sabotage is become aware of what's going on for us. And if you weren't aware that, I'm thinking that I'm not good enough, or I am thinking that I don't have time, or I'm thinking that I am not loved, or that you are binge cheating, or that you are texting all these people, or that you are spending hours on TikTok, how are you then going to change it? If you're always just doing these things, even though you value love, connection, health, growth. Can you see there how it's a bit of a mismatch? Because a person who values growth, who values connection, who values health, they don't binge eat. They don't skip the gym. They don't talk negatively about themselves. They don't say to themselves that they're not good enough. And this is where that mismatch comes in. And this is where so many people go wrong, because they see what we can see on the outside, but they don't understand what's going on the inside, and that in order to change what's on the outside, we need to start with changing what's on the inside. I'm just going to have a little sip of my coffee. So if you look at what I wrote before about being away and the towards, and if you are too much in the away column, then you're going to be stuck, because you're not doing what you're meant to be doing to get towards your goal, to get towards the life that you want. What you need to do is start focusing on what's in this column that it says towards. What are the things that I should be doing every day? What are the things that are important to me? Who is important to me? How can I step into the role of that person? What does that person do on a daily basis? How do they speak to themselves? What are their goals? What are their values? What are their habits? So that's what you need to start focusing on if you now have a clear picture of what it is that you're doing to be stuck. And some things that are in this top left column, they might be both something that moves you away from your goal and something that also moves you towards your goal. For example, going out drinking. If you're going out drinking with your friends, that might be something that you really enjoy and you feel like you're connecting with your friends and you're having a good time, you're making memories, you're laughing. Awesome. But it can also be something that takes you away from your goals, because if you drink too much, you might get really anxious. You might oh my God, I completely lost my train of thought here. If you drink too much, it might become something that numbs you. And that you're just trying to avoid feeling certain things, and you get that anxious feeling, you drink more to get rid of it. Or food, for example. Food can be something that is both moving you towards and also moving you away from your goal. For example, if you're going out for dinner and you're having a great meal with your partner or your friends or family or whatever, that's awesome. But then if this meal becomes something that you feel guilty about, something that where you binge, something where you overeat, something where you're not living in line with your values, then that becomes a bad thing. So see how they can exist in both columns here? And this is where we need to be mindful of, okay, what is the purpose of me doing this? What is the purpose of me eating chocolate? What is the purpose of me eating or drinking alcohol? Because it's not the actual act that's wrong. It's the purpose behind it. And like I said, sometimes we do get stuck. And sometimes it can feel like, shit, I'm so overwhelmed. Like, where do I even start with this? And I want you to know that you're not alone and that this is completely normal, especially when you start off with a big self-sabotaging journey like this. And you might have a gazillion different beliefs in your mind that you're like, oh my God, how am I going to fix all of these? Because there's just so many things, negative things that I say to myself every day. And this is when you need to pick the one that's the most frequent. What is the most frequent thing that you say to yourself? And one of the biggest core wounds, and especially for people who have an anxious attachment, is that they feel like they're not good enough. They feel like they're going to be abandoned, so that no one's ever going to love them. They feel like people are just going to leave. So for someone who has an anxious attachment, which a lot of people do, I would start with working on those two things, or at least one of them. You can't change what you don't know. How are you going to change these things? Like, you can't blame yourself for not having changed this in the past, because how are you meant to know if you've never actually done this work before? So please don't feel like you have failed or anything like that. I want you to just look at what happened in the past and see that you did your best. And you might look at it now and be like, why didn't I just do that? But you did what you thought was best at the time. We always do what we think is best at that particular time. That might not look like your best right now, but at the time when it happened, you did what you thought you had to do to survive. And it's so important that we remember that, and that we don't feel shame, that we don't guilt ourselves about it, because we always do what we think is best. So, how can we then start moving forward here? Well, it's not about being perfect. And like I said before, the first step is about noticing what is going on in my mind. What actions am I taking towards or away from my values? And becoming really clear on what is actually important to me. You know, who do I actually like spending time with? What do I actually like doing? How do I actually want to feel? Like, what is important? Do I like connection, or do I think that travel is more important than connection? Or do I think that love is the most important thing? Or do I think growth is the most important thing? What is it that's important to you? And what steps do you need to take to get there? And every time you do fall back into that away column, just know that that's okay. It doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that, you're not good enough or that you've done something wrong. It just means that you've taken a couple of steps back in there, and then you can catch yourself and you can ask yourself again, okay, what do I need to do to get back on the other side of this line? So it's not about being perfect. It's just about being more and more aware so that you can spend less time being stuck, and more time taking actions that align with your values and the life that you actually want for yourself. So, first of all, you need to start to learn to come back to the middle center. You need to start to understand, how can you start noticing that these things are happening to you? How can you notice when you are eating too much or scrolling or whatever, out drinking alcohol, whatever your thing is? How can you notice when you are believing those thoughts, saying that you can't do things, you can't afford it, it's too expensive, it's not the right time? How can you notice when that is just, those are thoughts and actions that are taking you away from your goal? And come back to you noticing. And then you come back to your values. What's important to me? And how can I start moving towards them? Getting stuck isn't your fault. It's just a part of being human. And once we become clear on who and what is important to us, we can then start to remind ourselves of what really matters. So I hope that this episode was helpful, guys. I hope that you enjoyed this new format. Please make sure that you do leave a review, that you do share it on your stories, or at least message me on Instagram if you have, if you like this episode or have any questions about it. And like always, if you're interested in coaching, if you're interested in anything that I just said, just reach out. There's always some kind of way of working with me, even though there are specific intakes for the group. There might still be one-on-one spots left, so please make sure you do reach out if this resonated with you, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks, guys. Bye.